Erica just gave a little, Brown Sugar Show is sweet.
Which year was this?
This was New America had just come out. So Honey
07,
was out.
07, 08. 07. Or
it was a little later than that. Maybe like 08 maybe? 08 and 09, something like that.
Okay.
Because the Roots had done
was it Game Theory?
Rising Down,
yeah.
Rising Down was out. Okay, and then
underrated record, by the way.
Underrated, yeah. And then like I know the next year, maybe like a year or two later, might have been 2010. I know Sadiq's Stone Rollin' comes out. He comes to Richmond. He's doing a show, and he starts Be Here, and he was like, "I got to do this with him because my little brother is from this." I'm thinking like, okay, he might show up, and he didn't show up. And I was thinking like, oh, I was just like, so, like with Black Messiah, I think, yeah, I can see that over policies because it's of the time period and it's and when you sit on stuff for a long time, I mean, like it gives you more time. You start second guessing.
It gives you more time because the way that the charade sounds, I mean, it's really in your face. That song, the drums are really hard pan. Everything is like I mean, it sounds awesome, but it's almost like, man, this is like really clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It loses a little bit of that. Because, man, demo version of 1,000 Deaths, oh my God.
Well, so you know what? I would in hindsight, would you have been like, hey man, go back and do another Voodoo? Or like, go back and do what you did before? I mean, I mean, the thing is that
I have to say that some of it is like a Voodoo part too. I mean, Another Life sounds like a continuation of a lot of that stuff. I mean, it also sounds like a Butcher Brown record for real. Like I'm like, that sounds like a Butcher Brown record. But like that one, again, 1,000 Deaths, Ain't That Easy.
Yeah. I asked that because like, okay, like being a Prince fan, it's like the stuff he did at Sunset Sound.
Yeah.
And then the stuff he did in the Purple House. Yeah. And then the stuff he did at the Park. You're kind of like, okay.
What's your preference?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, I'm always going to go Sunset Sound all day. No matter how much. I mean, like, I love the room sound at Paisley Park. There's legendary records of it. But, man, it don't come closer to the Sunset Sound for me. And the thing is, like, I'll take a... See, if it was like the rock, that's what the charade was giving me. It's like if there was a rock version of Voodoo. If it's
okay.
Because that's what he was kind of teasing after.
I see what you're saying.
Before the record came out and after, he was talking about how he was like, I'm listening to like this, psychedelic black rock from.
Because now that I think about
60s.
it, there is no keyboard on Black Messiah like that, is it?
Not like that. It's more the
so Fender. Maybe so like his Dirty Mind almost just cleaner
because it's more guitar. He's playing guitar. He's not really.
That's a good. You know what? We've just found a way to sum that up.
except for the charade. The charade has like very dominant keyboards and guitar. So I mean, it's more of that sound, but it's not the same. It's definitely an evolution. That's why I think a quicker follow up to that would have really would have sealed it. Like I'll be like, oh,
so that's what
if it came more of the rock edge in there, I was like,
you know what? That's not. I mean, you've helped me kind of like maybe I knew that I just didn't know how to put it into words ahead of time, but that is kind of more. And what I mean by that, I mean, so I remember I did a. Let's just say I had the privilege to speak to Jesse Johnson.
Okay.
And he was saying, and you can edit this out.
Okay.
And so he was saying how Prince needed to do Dirty Mind to kind of get that out of him, and how he needed to do like Bare My Naked Soul to get that out of him.
Sure.
And so I think this with D'Angelo was like, okay, I think he maybe always wanted to play guitar. Like, okay, so let me get this out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, because I don't want to be the guy stuck behind the piano, the whole time. And so, cool, okay, so now that you've done it, we got to see what's next. But let me ask you this, because we got ahead of some stuff. Looking back, if you were, how would you Are these 3 albums, Voodoo, Like Water, and Mama's Gun, are they like the box set that's not a box set?
I mean, yeah, I definitely say that is the air. I mean, you know, we're obviously forgetting quite a few other records because there were a few other ones from around that time. I would probably include Phrenology in there. You know, if you're really gonna, because Phrenology and then going into the Common Electric Circus period.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe Bilal's first one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that one is like. It's not. They don't really have as much of the Soulquarians vibe on it, but it's still that.
Bits and pieces.
It's in there. It's in there, and he's a big part of it. Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, that was a really big era.
I think the thing that makes these 3 albums work as a collective and then individually is, you know, something that you don't hear a lot of in R&B music anymore. It's like the rhythm section.
It's the rhythm section, yeah.
James Poyser,
yeah.
Pino Palladino,
yeah.
Questlove,
yeah.
and then D'Angelo on keys on certain tunes. I think Jay Dilla, on the songs that he's on, you know, for the projects, it's like, okay, it's like that extra, like, okay. Or, you know, you got Roy, you know, like, and Roy Hargrove, because he's on all 3 of these.
He's on all of them. He's on all those records.
Yeah.
You know,
and so I think. And it's funny that we talk about this, and some people are going to be like, well, what's so special about it? We haven't seen it since.
No.
Like, you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it since, and then the only way to kind of get you an idea about it, you got to reference one guy that did this with his project and 2 spinoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's kind of like that's like, wow, like it took a collective to try to duplicate what a dude did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of gets you in.
Yeah, because I mean, it was all over the place. You know, all of a sudden, you know, Roots, Questlove, all those guys, they're all over people's records, and it's because of that. It's really because of the Voodoo record,
and you're right, because
and things fall apart too as well.
Well, yeah, I think you know, like there are some honorable mentions that kind of go in, because Jay Dilla did the Q-Tip solo joint, you know, with Breathe and Stop, and all that, and then in between this, you had. Again, I said in a Lucy Pearl record, which you may say, well, hey, well, how does that fit in? Well, I mean, Sadiq is like the honorary, So things
was that project really didn't get to see its really proper fruition,
but that was a dope album.
It was a dope album, you know, and I still can't find that live performance of them that they did on the Tonight Show. I think of that song "You." And they watch that version. Ricky, that's like the best version of that song.
I gotta look for that. It's not on YouTube?
Can't find it. I looked for it a couple times, and it's so nasty, dude. It's so gross. I mean, Raphael is really the keeper of the flame on a lot of this. You know,
man, he's still doing it.
He's the only one doing it out there.
That's part that's like amazing. I
have to shout out to this other podcast called Talk of Musicology. With this guy, and I'm just blanking on his name right now, but he just interviewed Raphael Sadiq.
Oh, really? Okay.
And whenever I put this up, it'll go in there. But yeah, he just interviewed Raphael Sadiq, and his most recent record is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Jimmy Lee.
Lee is pretty amazing. That something keeps calling.
Yeah,
that record is bad.
Yeah. That joint is
That one I'm like, I wish Prince was alive to hear that. Because that one, that's a crucial record, bro.
So let me ask you this, man. Do you think? Because again, like from a drummer standpoint, not so much as just a listener, but as a drummer, like where do you rank these 3? Like where do you? Because I know for me as a bass player, like I'll say it, you know, like Pino's association with this, like made him a bass hero, like. You know, like I mean, like his name. Like every time his name is mentioned now, they always mention he played on Voodoo, like Water for Chocolate, Mama's Gun.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, he played with the Who in this, but they always mention those 3. So like, where does this as a you know? Because there are certain. I mean, I know bass players have certain albums where you be like, hey man, as a bass player, you should listen to. You know, like Gratitude Live or this.
Sure. Well,
you know what I'm saying? So how do you rank this?
It goes in that vibe. You know, I think Questlove. Sometimes he for his reputation is really interesting. I think it's really amazing because it really shows any drummer that, number one, a big part of recording and a big part of music and a big part of playing the drums is knowing the big picture, and that I think that shows that that drummers can be producers, that drummers are great arrangers, they're great facilitators, and also they know how to get people together. You know, they can help organize the rhythm section in an incredible way. They make or break the music, and I think for Questlove, he's shown how you can do both, and it can be in a musical style. Like, I mean, you could break the music literally and like screw it up, and it still has a value to it, and there's something real to it. Him breaking down his technique from precise to the most unprecise, like, is a that I think that blew drummers' minds. Okay, and I'm to the point where I think it took a few years. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it took people a few years, I think, to catch up to with what Questlove was doing. You see that now, drummers now know how to play the Dilla, you know. Yeah. But before, you know, it was a special thing. Like, if that was a special kind of code vocab, if you could speak in Dilla on the drum set, then you're like fire or whatever.
You're that guy.
And now that's been just completely, regurgitated and spit out and eat up and thrown out by all these other different drummers. So I think it's very revolutionary. And he was also the MD for the Voodoo tour. Yeah. So and I think that brings back the vibe of